All right, hello everyone. So our final project was essentially a board game, and it kind of takes you through a couple of Hawaii's ecosystems. It's geared towards high school students to give them a little more knowledge about the environments of Hawaii and the different impacts that either people or animals or other invasive species have on the islands themselves. And then on the next few slides, we'll learn a little bit about the game and how it's played.
About our board game, Journey Through Hawaii's Ecosystems is a board game played by 2 to 6 players. The game consists of pawn cards that will quiz you on your knowledge on the Hawaiian ecosystems. The main objective is to start from the coastal areas of the board and make your way up to the top of the mountain. The first player to reach the top wins the game. Depending on which card you choose will determine the path you take. But beware, there are invasive species in the deck. If you stumble upon one of these cards, you may find yourself moving back down the path.
This is the rule book. It's played with 2 to 5 players, age 13 and above. The components of the board game are 1 game board, 5 character pawns, 68 cards, and a rule book. The objective of the game is to follow the trail of colored spaces through Journey Through Hawaii's ecosystems. The players make their moves based on colored squares or ecosystem cards that they have drawn. The coral reef is represented by the color blue, the coastal area by the color orange, the wetland ecosystem by the color green, the dry forest brown, and rainforest gray.
So this is the rest of our rule book. So the first one is that oldest players or the oldest grade level goes first. And on your turn, you roll both dice and move forward the indicated amount of spaces. You draw 1 card from the deck of the color landed on and read the question. If the question is answered correctly, which you can refer to the answer key to see if it is correct, you move forward 1, 2, or 3 spaces. If answered incorrectly, you only move forward 1 space. To determine whether or not you moved forward 1, 2, or 3 spaces, you look at the card and see how many pictures are labeled on it. If there are 3 pictures in the box, that means it's a harder question, so you move forward 3 spaces. If there are 2 pictures, then it is a medium question and you move forward 2 spaces. And if it is 1 picture on the box only, it's an easy question and you only move forward 1 space. So when you draw an invasive species card, you move back 2 spaces. There are 2 rainbows on the board, and when landing on a space connected to a rainbow, you follow the shortcut to the other end. And then when landing on one of the spaces containing all the card colors, you get to choose what ecosystem deck to pull from.
All right, so this is kind of the general layout of our game box and our game board. If you take a look at the game board, everyone kind of starts in the coral reef area, just off the boats here. And you can kind of see the colors we talked about earlier, where they denote the different ecosystems that you go through. And also as you traverse the board, you can see the ecosystems change from the coral reefs to coastlands, to wetlands, to dry forests, and finally the rainforests. Below the game board there, you can kind of see the breakdowns of the different colors for the ecosystem cards as well. So when you land on a space such as green, for example, you'd pick up the green wetlands card and be asked a question about that. And then on the next slides, we can kind of take a further look at the different ecosystems and the types of questions you may be asked.
All right, so the ecosystem that I decided to go with is coral reefs. And with all of our questions, we have different formats. So all of mine are either in the true or false format or the multiple choice format. So I'm just gonna choose to read one of these. So the middle one, identify the invasive species. A, green sea turtle, B, peacock grouper, C, Potter's angelfish, D, all of the above. The correct answer is B, peacock grouper.
So for my ecosystem, I chose the coastal ecosystem, and all of my questions are in the true or false format. I'll just read you one of these questions. True or false, restoration of coastal ecosystems is necessary to improve and expand habitats for native species. The answer for this would be true.
For my ecosystem, I chose the wetlands. All of mine will be true and false as well. And as you can see, these are my examples. The last one would be wetland restoration was sparked by the sugarcane and pineapple industries, which would be true.
All right, and I chose to do dry forests for my ecosystem. And my questions kind of have a mix of true and false, but also a few multiple choice questions. So to read one off, we've got the middle one here. True or false? The Hawaiian hoary bat, which makes its home in the dry forest, is Hawaii's only native land mammal. And that one is true.
I chose the rainforest ecosystem. I have some mainly true and false questions and a couple short answer questions. So one of the questions are, the EEV is a native honey creeper to Hawaii and is also an endangered species, which is true.
These are the invasive species that you'll be coming across in the game, all coming from different ecosystems. So hopefully you aren't the one to pick it up.
All right, and that is the general layout and rules and kind of how to play our game. And like I said, it's geared towards around like high school age students, and we're hoping that by playing this game, they'll get a better general knowledge or maybe just find more interest in the different ecosystems and environments of Hawaii overall. Thank you, everyone.